Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to the newest Cerkl U webinar. Today we're going to be talking about Cerkl's Content Manager. I want to thank everybody that is here for joining us and taking time out of your day to learn more about Cerkl. Really quickly, I wanted to highlight one of our partners, the Health Collaborative, who in partnership with Cerkl recently won a PRSA, which is the Public Relations Society of America, won a Bronze Anvil Award from them. For their newsletter and the work that they're putting out on a daily basis. So congratulations to them. We're really excited about that. But to the point, today we're going to be talking about the Content Manager and its release. It has been out now for about a week in the wild. So we're excited to get started. I'm going to introduce myself and who I'm working with here. I am Jacob Zerhusen. I'm the lead customer success manager here at Cerkl. And then
I'm Joe Conti. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Cerkl. And we're really excited to introduce you to our Content Manager. Just to get started here, a brief rundown of why we created the Content Manager. So before we had our Content Archive, which was really just a very visual collection of all of your content. It worked well from a subscriber standpoint because your subscribers could go in there, they could see your content, they could find content that they may have missed in their newsletters, and it was really built with the subscriber in mind. And we didn't really have a place that was built with the Cerkl owners in mind, and so that's why we built the Content Manager. It's really to make it easier for you guys to navigate and create your content and save you time. Those are really the main driving factors as to why we created the Content Manager.
Right.
And so we'd like to get started by jumping right in and
yeah, for really quick, if you guys have any questions or if you're having issues hearing us, or if you have any technical difficulties, please call us at the number on the screen. You can screenshot that or write that down if you're having any issues. Afterwards, we want to make sure that we keep the conversation going on all the social channels. And as always, you can reach out to us through the chat bot on cerkl.com as well as on any of our websites throughout the app. And afterwards, we'll be sure to send you a recording of everything that we talked about today as well. So what we're going to be talking about is the entirely updated content library, the basic views, and every one of the new features, which broad level highlights are a universal search, bulk actions, filtering, and sorting. So let's check it out. We're going to go into the platform now. All right, and so here's what it looks like. Like I said, this has been out in the wild for a week now. So if this is your first exposure, then awesome, and if it isn't, forgive me if I'm going over things that you've already experienced, but this is largely just to make sure that everybody has a basic understanding of the way that everything works, as well as to point out the features that you're going to be using, especially if you haven't seen them already. So the way that this is split out is into three main tabs. So these represent the primary states that content can be in at any given time. So firstly, a draft is what a piece would be. So a draft means that it is an incomplete piece of content. It might be missing a picture. You might need to add more content, more text. You might need to add the categories, or it's just not ready to go out. You're just working on it. There's a couple that we're working on currently here. Once you publish this content, so this one, if I wanted to go in and publish it, that is now going to leave the drafts and it's going to go into the queue because I have set myself to be moderated, meaning that all of my pieces must first go into this state here where I want to make sure that it looks good first. I want to make sure that somebody else gets some eyes on it. And the queue is waiting for approval from a privileged administrator, which I also am, but so are some of my other authors that I work with. So once we've looked at this and we think this is good enough, I can check it and I can approve it. So I don't necessarily have to check it, but what this is, we'll get to this later in detail, but this would be bulk actions. Once I approve it, it is now able to go out into our newsletters to any of our audience members. So now it's an approved. So approved means every piece of content that we have ever put out that has the ability to go out in a newsletter currently. This is similar to the content archive, which you still have access to. We separated this out. You can get to the content archive through that link there, and it'll open up a new tab. The content archive really will be the public-facing repository of all of your information going forward. We used to have the ability to edit in here, but we've since removed it because as an admin, you have more abilities here, and you still have the ability to see all of your posts here as well. So there's no need to get confused between the two. The content archive is what your customers will be seeing, what your audience will be seeing, but you'll be living within the content manager. So I want to take a second to go over the new symbols. There's a lot of new symbolage here, not a lot of new notations that we didn't have before. So that just has a little bit of a learning curve. What these represent are, you'll see, a little pencil, which if you hover over top of any of these, I'll let you know what they are. But the pencil means edit the content, which will take you into what you're familiar with already, what you've used in the past when creating content. You'll have the ability there to edit any pieces or any portion of the content that you need. The eye symbol is going to give you a quick preview of what is in that post. So this one you can see has no body content, but it's an event. It'll let you know the date, the expiration date, the publish start. And then here on the fly, I can quickly add any categories that I need to add. The check mark means approve, meaning I want to, this is only in the queue, means I want to send this out and it's ready to go. And then the trash can means delete. This is what a calendar event will look like. I'll kind of zoom in here a little bit so you can see these better. The calendar event will be denoted with a calendar symbol on the day that the event occurs. An article that is pinned will have a pin next to it. A top story has an arrow pointing upwards towards a little bar. And then the paperclip means that it is a required story. And then one new symbol here is if the content never expires, we refer to that as being evergreen, meaning it'll never die out. It's always worthwhile to see for your audience. That is denoted with a little evergreen tree symbol. So that is the majority of the new symbols. I'm going to double check to see if I've missed any. Yeah, we have one here in the approved queue as well, which means this isn't edit, this isn't a preview. If I click on this little box with an arrow coming out of it, it'll actually take me to that content wherever it lives, whether it lives in Cerkl or an outside source like your blog. Now we're going to talk about a couple of, I'm going to have Joe talk about a couple of new features like the search bar and some sorting and filtering.
Yeah, so like Jacob said, we've also added some new features. So what you've seen so far doesn't really add any new features to what you had before, but we've also added some exciting new features in here, and one of them is the global search. So on the top right, you'll see there's a search box. You can put in anything that you would search for, and it would pull back all of your pieces of content with that search term. So Jacob put in GDPR. As you may or may not be aware, that's a big topic of late in terms of privacy. And we have 2 articles, and you can see from the results that it tells you what status those articles are in. So we have one that's approved, so that would be something that can go out in the newsletter. We also have one that's in draft status, so it's currently being worked on. You'll see the icons and the actions that are available to each are representative of what status it's in. And then you can see, you get the post title, the publish start and end dates, any categories it's in, and then the content source that particular piece of content came from. It's important to note that this is a global search, so it's searching across all of your approved, all of your queue, all of your drafts. So anything that matches will get pulled back and you'll be able to see it here. So it just makes it easier. So like when you're thinking, oh, I put out an article 6 months ago and I want to find it again, you can just type in the title right there, hit search, and it'll pull it back regardless of where it lives. Going along with the global search, we've also added in some sorting and filtering. So on each one of the views, you can now sort your content to see it, right now by default we have it sorted based upon the published start date, but you could sort it by the source, the content source. You could sort it alphabetically by post title. And just another way for you to slice and dice your information and quickly find different pieces of content. To help with the sorting, we have filtering. This really adds a lot of capabilities to give you exactly the view of your content that you're after. So if you want to know, hey, what pieces of content did I publish over the last week, you can do that. You can also filter by your own categories. So if you go into the categories, you can see all the categories that are associated with your Cerkl. And you can say, hey, give me all the pieces of content that I've written that have to do with engagement. You can filter by segment. So if you target your content to a particular segment inside of your Cerkl, you can quickly find those pieces of content as well. So you could say, hey, I just want to find articles having to do with engagement that I've written in the last week that are for my for-profit segment. And you can easily get that. We don't have that
this week. Not the past week, at least.
But you can also then filter by content source, by the post priority, and by the content type. The content type being your updates, your needs, and your events. You'll notice that when you do apply a filter, that shows up in the top left or the top right of the content listing. And so you can see what filters you have applied that are giving you the view that you're seeing. And then when you hover over those, you can click the X and you can quickly get rid of those filters as well. By default, when you come in, we do include Evergreen Content. And that's all your content that does not expire, but we do not include your expired content. So that's been some questions that we've received is like, oh, I can't find this piece of content, I'm not seeing it there. Well, that's probably because it's expired. So if you go into your filter, you say, hey, include expired content, hit apply, and you'll see all your content that has expired as well. So the filtering really gives you a lot of control over what you're seeing in each one of these views in your approved, your queued, and your drafts. So you can filter it, you can sort it, you can search. And I really think this adds a lot of efficiency and a lot of capabilities to the administrative side of producing content.
Absolutely. I want to highlight again just the fact that all of your expired content isn't shown. A lot of times people will need to recycle content, especially events that happen year over year. We hide those by default just so that you're not confused and not accidentally making mistakes where you're adding April 9th, 2017 to an event and when it's actually this April. So we want to hide those at first, but if you ever need to see them, every piece of content that you've ever posted is still available in the Content Manager for you to see. Really quickly, something we sort of skipped over. You're probably used to in the past having the drop down on the left side where you could add content and you could pick which content type you'd like to make. They're now represented by these bobbles. We have the one for posts, a need, an event, and a link, the same ones that we had before, just a little bit different than what it used to be. And I just want to make sure we don't skip over that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And going along with the release of the new Content Manager, I'm sure you've all noticed that the entire left side drop-down menu is now gone. And what we've done is we've combined that into a single menu on the right-hand side. And really what we're doing is, again, to ease navigation. It was getting a little confusing having multiple menus. And so what we've done is we've combined that into one menu on the right-hand side. You can see Content Manager is the second item down. And it really just highlights the basic sections of the application and where you need to go. So once you get into Content Manager, if you're managing content, you don't really ever have to leave this section and you don't have to hit a bunch of different menus and get lost that way.
Yep, another big thing that was happening as well is having the menu on the left side. If you brought that down over here, it would cover up a lot of the menus that we had within the individual portions of the site. So that would get a little bit messy as well. So we're trying to streamline this and avoid clicks and save you guys time with every action that you perform on the site. which is a perfect segue into the next topic we're going to talk about, which I briefly touched on earlier, which is bulk actions. So this is most useful in the queue, especially if you are one of our partners who has 15 to 20, 30, 40, hundreds of different content sources that you're bringing things in from. Most of that's junk. You don't need it all. Or you know that certain content sources are more useful than others. So in combination with our sorting, you could sort by source, and I could see everything that we have ever posted. We don't have any in here now, but say I wanted to have, oh yeah, I could filter by source. Apologize, we're still getting used to this as well. If I wanted to filter this by, we don't have any in here now, but say I wanted to filter by only what came in from our YouTube channel and know that I don't want any of that necessarily to go out into our newsletter. Then I could go through and check all of the videos that came up there, and I could delete all of them all at once. Or I could click the check mark at the top and it would automatically check everything that's there. Once I've done that, I can delete or approve all of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because these were example stories that we added in here. Once that these are deleted, they're gone. I don't have to do these one by one like we used to have to in the past. It would take, your queue would fill up, it'd max out at about 50, and then once you put out those 50, another 50 would be there waiting for you because your queue is actually about 600 posts deep. If you went on vacation for a week and came back and all of your RSS feeds, it just kept dumping content into your queue. So that's going to be extremely helpful moving forward for anybody that is using a lot of moderated content sources. Each one of the views, at least approved, and your queue have alternate ways of looking at them as well, alternate views. So the approved queue has something that we've been working on for a long time that we're really excited about. It's the calendar view. So this just helps sort of conceptualize and view what Cerkl is going to be choosing from on any given day to build a newsletter for subscribers. So we can see today we have 44 stories available for any of our subscribers. Granted, this would have to be content that they haven't seen. So green means this is the published date. So at the beginning of this broadcast, I published this piece of content. So that's its birthday. It's the first day that it came about. The last day that a post exists, or the day that it expires, is going to be highlighted in red. And then underneath each day, you can see how many stories total are available. So if I click into this, you'll see symbols for what type of post it is, how many are being published that day, and how many are being expired that day. So this will just help you, number one, understand what Cerkl is going to have to pick from. And every newsletter is going to max out at 9 stories, and it's going to be picked based upon each individual subscriber's interests. So my newsletter from Cerkl is going to look different than Joe's newsletter from Cerkl. And Cerkl is going to pick from here the ones that I have the best chance to click on. So the other thing that this will do is, as you move along, you'll start to see that you have less and less pieces. We have a lot of content that never expires. That's why you'll sort of see it level out around 35. But here's how many pieces we have that are not evergreen once we get into July. So once we have these, we don't have that many posts. That starts to signal that we need to create more content around that time. So if it ever gets close to your minimum content setting, whatever that's set at, I think that ours is 3, where there's not enough to even build a newsletter, that should trigger you to start building more posts, maybe bringing in content from outside sources, and just supplementing what you already have. So that is in the approved view. You have the calendar view. Within the queue, you also have the ability to, well, I deleted everything, but we have an expanded view as well. So it's very similar to the queue that you had in the past. We have simply just changed it to be a little bit more consolidated here. But let me toss one in here really quick so you can see what I'm talking about. But the expanded view is largely the queue that you were used to in the past. We have just consolidated it and made it a little bit easier for you to see. So now that these are going to be in the queue, the expanded view is where I can quickly add categories to any of these posts. So this is a lot like what you're used to in the past. If I wanted to add some more, I can. I'll add more categories to these, and then I can approve them if I'd like from here as well. But this would be one by one. Bulk actions are not in the expanded view. In the consolidated view here, I can approve all of these in one fell swoop. But that is a largely pretty comprehensive overview of everything that is in the content manager. We're going to open it up for questions here in a second, but I quickly wanted to bring up the fact that we have our next webinar hosted by our internal geniuses, Barry and Rachel in our marketing department. That'll be on May 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be specifically about how to boost your internal communication stats. So we're greatly looking forward to that one. We're going to have a whole wealth of information in that. And it's question time. So please, in the right-hand corner of your webinar, I guess, board, if you have any questions, throw them out there, and we'll be happy to answer them. So we've got a couple already from throughout the webinar. So I'm going to open up one of these. So give me 1 second. Sorry, I get lost in my screens. All right, so one would be, how do I set different staff members to be moderated? Good question. So let's check it out. So a lot of the time you would need to have maybe one primary owner of your Cerkl who is in charge of adding in, lower level authors or people who are going to be creating content. But you don't necessarily want those people to have the same permissions. Maybe you only want to give them the power to create content and not necessarily publish it and put it out there. You want it to go through the primary administrator first. So if you go into your settings, then go to administrators. Here's where you'll start to see all of the administrators that we have, and you can see all of their different permissions. So for mine, for instance, I'm an owner, which means that I have all permissions. Let's say I don't want to be an owner. Say I just want to be an author, and then I also want to be moderated. This means that I can create content, and then when I'm finished with it and I publish it, it's going to go through to the queue first, and then one of these people who are already owners, James or Joe or Maddie, they could go through and then approve it for final release and put it out into newsletters. And there's a couple, you can get pretty granular here, an owner being somebody who can do anything, an editor being somebody who can approve content and put it out there, an author being somebody who can create content, and then this is whether or not you're moderated. And I set myself to be moderated just so I have an extra level of double checking to make sure that my content's correct before I actually put it out there. All right, great question. So keep them coming. We have a couple more. What are these symbols on the left of the screen, like the megaphone, etc.? Gotcha. We covered that earlier, so that probably was, I was probably asked around that time, but just to double check and make sure that everybody knows what they are, because they're pretty important. The megaphone, the hands with the heart, the calendar, and the link, those are the different types of posts that you can create. All right. And hopefully that answered your question. And then, good question. So this one's, if I wanted to learn more about this that wasn't covered in the webinar, that is in our help desk, which you can find at success.cerkl.com. It's our new repository for all of our help information. So once you are here, you can go to our help desk. You can see past recorded webinars, and then you can also join our private Facebook page where we can talk about best practices with other admins. If there's ever any issues with the platform, this is the place to check it out as well. We recently came out with our status page as well. But if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out through the chat bot in the bottom right corner. That is the quickest way to get a hold of any of us. It is all hands on deck. Any questions you have, we're usually to you within about 5 minutes. So that's day or night. So feel free to reach out. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to round back with us after this webinar ends. We want to keep an open door policy as far as question goes. So yeah, don't be strangers, everybody. I think that's about it for now. I don't think there's any questions. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds, but otherwise I want to thank everybody again for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to having you at the next webinar. All right, see you everybody.